Hello, everyone. Welcome to Chasing a Murder. And today we are on Life Beyond the Grave, part 150, going into September 2019. This is actually a story talking about the Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell case. So, this is the Doomsday Prophet and Prophetess. If you do not know already, these are people that use religion in order to make murder something that was acceptable to them. Chad Daybell, he was a visionary, an author, book publisher for local authors, basically, that had near-death experiences and similar things like that. Those were his most popular, some of them being sports stars. Chad Daybell believed that he had a calling from God, with direction from God, to prepare basically a gathering for the 144,000. He believed also that he was Harry Potter. That's how he felt, who was stuck under the stairs, doomed to live this life with his family, his wife, Tammy Daybell, and his 5 children, instead of having this free life and adventure that he had with his mistress, Lori Vallow. We learned that Lori Vallow has moved to Rexburg, Idaho, and that she's already making arrangements to meet up with Chad, lying into Tammy's wife, using some of their friends in order to do that. Lori also began cutting off her own family, including her sister Summer Shiflett, who had recently went above and beyond to cover up some of Lori's darker side and help defend Lori during the shooting of her husband, Charles Vallow. Summer did. She just absolutely was there to take up for both Lori and her brother, Alex Cox. An important understanding of who Lori was in 2019 actually comes from her own mother's mouth. In a later interview, Janice Cox talks to AZ family, which is like I said, it'll be an interview that comes out later, but we're going to listen to a little bit of that again. Another important thing is to understand, what the family understood about Lori around this time. And I believe that they knew that she had a few struggles, and they believed that some of those struggles were mental. She believed in some of this stuff, and to her, they said these things seemed real. This includes her becoming a translated being, I believe, even though the family doesn't go into detail. Those other things that I believe that the family was aware of is that Lori had a mission directly from God. And what I find interesting about that is that the Cox family, they refuse to bring this to anyone's attention, including investigators, as far as we know, after Charles is shot. The only person that does that is Adam Cox, Lori Vallow's brother. It is probable that Lori did have mental health struggles. And I do not believe that her family believed when she said she was translated and a translated being, that's what she was. Instead, it seems that the family would pretend to support her and believe her unrealistic ideas. To them, they thought, well, what's the damage? We support her because we love her. As long as the kids are fed and everything's okay, what's the damage? We were told that this was sudden behavior for Lori, but was it really? In an AZ family interview, Janice gives us a hint that nothing really changed with Lori after meeting Chad Daybell. Her Lori was the same Lori they ever knew. This is interesting to me. So is this the same mentally unstable girl that they've known for a very long time? The truth is, a lot of this is still untold, at least from the Cox mouth. And when it comes to religion and their beliefs, their lips are sealed tight. And again, They tell their interviewer that for Lori, these visions, she believes these visions and everything that she believes are real, and they're real to her.
She cut off communication, and you don't know where your grandchildren are. That's gotta seem strange.
It does, but she said, I'm not going to be able to tell you everything. She did have some major fears that were real to her. She didn't share them all with me. She felt like in her mind that she was protecting us in her mind.
Might be misguided in their thoughts or thinking, but I don't think it makes them bad people.
I think that Chad brainwashed her.
No, he couldn't do it. It's not possible.
So why isn't it possible that Chad could brainwash Lori? Well, most likely because she's so headstrong. Mom most likely had trouble guiding Lori, simply because of that characteristic that she carries. The family believes that they're close, and remember, Lori never really included this family into anything quite personal for her. And they say that in this interview.
I've never been invited to any of Lori's weddings, so this was not unusual for us.
We were invited. We didn't go to any.
I've never been invited to one, but that's fine.
In this interview, Janice claims that she was invited to the wedding, but she didn't go. But in other interviews, earlier interviews, she did mention the fact that she was not invited. One of the most important questions in this case that a lot of people want to know about is whether or not Lori Vallow truly believed in a lot of these teaching and beliefs that she was following and pushing. Did she believe it with all her heart and all her soul? It's really important to understand of whether or not she had concerns for the people in her life that she doomed. We learned that Lori Vallow gets very obsessed with her enemies and the things that she can do during that obsession. Is she obsessed now, today? It's around this time we learned that Chad Daybell is actually making some transformation to his physical and mental states. And this must be very obvious to the people closest to him in his life, like his wife Tammy Daybell and his 5 children. There's one thing I think we've learned about Chad over this time, that Chad Daybell is very secretive, but he always has someone that knows a secret. And that a lot of times he is not working alone on an idea. Many times his secrets involved some of the women who were closest to him and his wife Tammy at the time. One of those secrets that a lot of these women know about is Chad somehow is determined and knows that his wife Tammy will pass away soon in the future. And the people surrounding Tammy, they know this stuff. They know about Chad's visions and his predictions that Tammy's no longer going to be here on this earth. Yet, why don't they tell Tammy? There are alleged thoughts and sayings that Chad's daughter Emma Daybell and several neighbors are aware that Chad had predicted Tammy was going to pass away multiple times. Remember that Julie Rowe knew about Tammy's fate. In fact, she claims that both she and Chad had learned about Tammy's demise through, energy and spirits. Julie Rowe once believed that God had brought her and Chad together, and it also includes her relationship with Emma Daybell. So it's a really important question. Did Emma Daybell know about her mother passing in the near future, especially when Chad was with Julie Rowe? Around this time as well, Alex Cox, Lori Vallow's brother, is hanging out at Chad's house a few times. He's also been tracked at the gun range. There's more and more weapons that they're accumulating, and he's actually going to the gun range a lot more often. At the beginning of September, Jason Mao is teaching a few classes at BYU, so just keep that in mind. On September 6th of 2019, Alex Cox is at Chad's home again. After Lori Vallow had moved out of that rental home that she was renting from one of Charles's friends, this guy said that he wanted to know what kind of shape the house was in, what investigators had done to the house. Now, remember, during this time, Kay Woodcock is talking to police quite often. She is trying to make arrangements legally to see her grandson, JJ. And police aren't really telling them a whole lot.
I don't want to, if a homeowner has the right to, there's no police report out on what happened other than what you guys released to the news, and I think that's what's out, right? I don't know if there's more. I don't know if I have the ability to go to records and Chandler and say, hey, it's my house. Do I have the ability to receive any additional information so I can either clean the house where it needs to be cleaned, or if I can, do some type of closing so that I can, be able to go into the house. I don't know where the things happened. I don't know where his body was. I don't know, where the gunshots were. If I need to look for, other gunshot damage anywhere.
Since we finished up in July?
I've been there several times.
Okay.
I've been there several times because I have the house for sale.
Gotcha.
And it's just taken me a while I wanted to paint the house. I wanted to paint the outside. I wanted to redo the backyard just because I've been getting the house ready for sale. I have a contract on the house. We're due to close the end of January, like literally in 2 or 3 weeks. So, but, of course, that was the reason that I didn't want the house in the first place, because I don't want to go there. It's just a terrible feeling even being in the neighborhood. So, but, I think the most important thing that I wanted to communicate with you is that, I had communicated with the Vallow family, and they had told me some things about what they were privileged to because, their brother or their uncle, person died. Charles died in the house, and they were, looking for some answers. I kind of don't want to know about any more things that happen in the house, but I just want to know that if there's any more information that you might have or need from me, like even the text message threads from Lori that we were talking about through the days before and after, like the days after where I'm like, whose red SUV is that? Whose gray truck is that? And she's like, oh, the red SUV was Charles's rental car, and the truck is her brother's, and it's still out front, still sitting there. The neighbors were sending me pictures of it, like, why is this truck still here?
So it sounds like the rental car was never taken back. It just sat there at the house for a long period of time. He says something about Alex Cox's truck. We often wonder, was Alex Cox in Colombia during this time? What was going on? I need to do more research on that one. Interestingly, the investigators are way late. Joe is basically begging them to take information he has that might be useful for them on the day that Charles was shot. This is after quite a bit of time passed, guys. If they were investigating this from the very beginning, then why the heck do you have witnesses begging for you to take what they can offer, begging to give evidence?
And then, if you could, from the day of the incident on, do you know how to screenshot and email the screenshots?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
If not, just let me know and we could have somebody do it. But if you know how to screenshot and email the screenshots, I'd be interested for your text communication with Lori, basically on the day of the incident until you kind of cut off tell your last communication.
Yeah. Okay.
So, and that's just kind of more the historical and kind of what's going on in her world type thing that I'd be interested in.
Sure.
So this phone call was January 9th, 2020 at 1200 hours about case number 19-83744. So again, this guy claims that, both Lori and Charles were renting houses from him for years. So I'm not sure if they ever really own a home or if they just rent it. According to Joe, when he met Lori, she seemed to be a quite pleasant person to be around. So again, no one ever suspected Lori's darker side over the years. They always thought that she, displayed being this great mom, great wife with a great family. But it seemed like police and investigators were not in a hurry. And you got to remember, this is January 2020. And if they had been, you got to remember, Kay Woodcock is trying to push them into doing something quite quickly. Why? Because she has concerns for her grandson, JJ. And they just don't appear to be moving very fast. Now, what I did learn is that Alex Cox lives with his sister Lori in her townhome apartment before he moves into his own complex, which is only a few doors down. Around this time as well, Lori starts to tell people, that Tylee's about to leave, especially JJ. We often wonder how much of this does Tylee know. It's certain that Lori has this plan that her daughter is leaving this earthly abode and headed for a new life beyond the veil. We don't know Lori's true intentions and whether or not she believes all this stuff, but perhaps she believes Tylee can have a reset and a chance at a new probation as a new mortal being striding to walk the right path of God again here on the earth. It just seems to most people covering this story or following this story that Lori seems to be done dealing with this demon invader in her daughter's vessel. For me, it just seems that Lori was tired of being a responsible mother. She didn't want that responsibility anymore. The children just take up too much of her time. She's not able to do what she wants to do and when she wants to do it. You got to remember that Tylee Ryan is only a little bit away from her 18th birthday. Lori did not get this insurance money from Charles. She's already gone through the majority of the money. Doesn't seem that Charles really owns anything. So her money that she was depending on was his life insurance, and she did not get that. So she's having to live off her brother, her daughter. She's about to run out of money. She's running out of time. So she's got to get a hold of some money pretty quickly. And she starts pushing those buttons and suggesting that Chad needs to start doing his part. It's time to start making plans for his wife, Tammy Daybell. Wow, it's such a great mom that she's planning to live off of their money, whether they're here or not here on this earth. Around September 7th of 2019, JJ tells one of his friends or neighbors at these new townhomes that he's living in, his sister would be leaving soon. What are they telling this child? And does Tylee know about this fact that she's leaving soon? Also, according to the neighbor, JJ tells them that they were going to visit his grandmother. The neighbor said they didn't know where that was, so they said, oh, okay. The neighbors kind of assumed the reason why Tylee might be leaving is because school was fixing to start, so that made sense to them. In reality, those of us that follow this case knows exactly when Lori says that Tylee's not going to be there, what that means. And how she had prepared and planned the demise of these two children way before they ever disappeared. We don't get much information on how Tylee is feeling during this time, simply because Tylee doesn't seem to have contact with anyone, which is strange. Also on September 7th, Chad's wife Tammy is volunteering at the Rexburg Rescue Run event. This is something you will hear about on trial for Chad. One of the main arguments at that trial was whether or not Tammy was athletically fit or if she was having health issues. Her daughter Emma will go out of her way to make it look as if Tammy wouldn't exercise for some odd reason. From this time on, Tammy's health and well-being is the utmost importance, because later on, her own children and her husband will try to make it look as if Tammy was having health issues. On September 7th, Lori does a podcast with her good friend Melanie Gibb, titled Feel the Fire. What is the baptism of fire? So this is the second podcast that they do in the series Feel the Fire. If you didn't know, this is based off of Melanie Gibb's book that she wrote. In this podcast, they say that they speak about the wise man Nephi and what he spoke about. Melanie Gibb also talks a little bit about her special needs son, with the feeling like she didn't know how to navigate her challenges and what it took for her to actually experience that clean feeling in her heart. Lori is also going to be part of this conversation. It says that Lori is descriptive with the ways that fire can feel to all of us and how that has manifested in her life. Here's the thing. No one but certain people that got this link when it first came out to this podcast knows what was said really in this podcast. There have been a few leaks, but to be honest with you, there's nothing really out there, and will there ever be anything out there? So Lori and Melanie both are doing these podcasts where they are supposedly walking in God's light. Yet, behind those scenes, she's planning the demise of her own children. As long as her family members, like Summer, continue to take up for Lori instead of listening to the possibility that somebody might be in danger, well, she's going to continue to get away with it. And here's another clip from AZ, the interview they did with Summer and Janice Cox.
And to me, that's what I would do.
Summer, do you think that she is guilty of the things that she is accused of?
No. No, I don't. Not even a little bit. I know for a fact that she did not conspire to kill Charles in any way, shape, or form. I spent a lot of time with Lori and Alex leading up to Charles' death, and I know that there was never any kind of discussion like that about it. Charles texted probably 20 or 30 times, ranging from, "I swear I'll be nice, please call me," to "Your end is coming soon." So I saw a lot of threatening texts from him. If Alex hadn't been there, I think Lori and Tylee would have been on the news for a very different reason.
All right, so there's your small piece of Summer Shiflett's manipulative skills. She has no idea what's really going on, yet she's telling everybody that Charles would have been the one that actually took lives that day without any evidence or anything to prove it. She even admitted that she was taking part in these plans that she and Lori and Alex made to make sure that Alex Cox was there the day that Charles showed up to take JJ to school. Now remember, Charles was trying to get help for Lori. He felt that Lori needed help. And yes, he was having difficulties losing her, which isn't easy. But he had no intentions whatsoever of taking anyone's life. But if you talk to Summer, well, that's not the truth. As that part just makes me so angry every time I hear it. Sorry, guys. I'm going to have to go right now. If you like my work, please make sure that you show it by subscribing, sharing, saying hello. Press the like button. I would absolutely appreciate it so much. Guys, most importantly, we have missing girls out there. Their stories, no answers for years now. Please take a moment to share a missing person's story on your social media today. Love you guys, and I'll see you guys soon.